You won't believe what happened in that courtroom. I still get chills thinking about it. Stick around, because this is one of those stories about justice being served in the most unexpected and powerful way, and you're going to want to see how it ends. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more real-life stories that restore your faith in humanity. The air in the Clark County family court was thick with the smell of stale coffee and despair. For Michael O'Malley, a man who had faced down enemy fire in the dusty hellscape of Fallujah, this room was a different kind of battlefield, one where the weapons were legal briefs and the wounds were emotional. He stood before Judge Harold Whitmore, his posture unconsciously rigid, a lifetime of military discipline holding his frayed nerves together. His hands, calloused and scarred, gently adjusted the simple, dark suit he'd bought for this very occasion. It was the suit he wore for job interviews that went nowhere, and now, for fighting for the only thing that truly mattered, his 6-year-old daughter, Chloe. Mr. O'Malley, Judge Whitmore began, his voice a bored drone, not even looking up from his paperwork. We are here today to determine a stable and suitable living environment for your daughter, Chloe. Your ex-wife's counsel has presented evidence of financial instability and a purported lack of a strong support system. On the other side of the courtroom, Lisa, Michael's ex-wife, sat poised next to her slick, expensive lawyer. She had moved on, into a large house and a new life that didn't have room for the ghosts Michael had brought home from the war. She wasn't a villain, not really, just a woman who had grown tired of the quiet man who jumped at loud noises and sometimes stared into the distance for hours. Your Honor, Michael said, his voice steady but soft. I may not have a large bank account, but I have a stable job as a mechanic. I have a small, clean apartment. Most importantly, I have all the love in the world for my daughter. She is my entire world. The judge finally glanced up, his eyes cold and dismissive. Love doesn't pay the bills, Mr. O'Malley. And it doesn't necessarily provide the structured environment a child needs. He gestured vaguely. Your counsel mentioned your military service. I see you've chosen to wear your decorations today. Michael's heart hammered against his ribs. On the lapel of his cheap suit jacket, he wore a small, elegant rack of his service medals. It was his father's advice. Wear them, son. Let them see the man you are. The man who served. Yes, Your Honor, Michael said, his voice gaining a little strength. The Silver Star, the Purple Heart, and the Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal with Valor. A snide chuckle echoed through the quiet room. It came from Judge Whitmore. He leaned forward, a condescending smirk playing on his lips. With all due respect, Mr. O'Malley, this is a court of law, not a VFW hall. And frankly, I've seen my share of embellished service records. It's a sad tactic some individuals use to garner sympathy. How do we know these aren't, well, counterfeits? Bought online to dress up a sob story. The blow was more devastating than any IED. Michael felt the air leave his lungs. The world seemed to shrink to the judge's smug face. These medals weren't metal and ribbon. They were blood, and sacrifice, and memory. The Silver Star was for pulling 2 of his brothers from a burning Humvee under a hail of gunfire, the shrapnel wound that earned him the Purple Heart, a searing pain he still felt in damp weather. To have them called fakes, to have his honor questioned in this sterile, hateful room, was a betrayal deeper than any he had ever known. Your Honor, Michael's lawyer protested, but Michael just stood there, paralyzed by the injustice. His eyes, usually a calm and steady blue, glistened with a pain too profound for tears. He looked over at the gallery, where his father sat, his own face a mask of fury and helplessness. Just as Michael was about to speak, to try and find words to defend the indefensible, his own honor, the heavy doors at the back of the courtroom creaked open. Every head turned. Standing there was an older man, tall and straight as a ship's mast, his hair a close-cropped silver. He wore the pristine, dark blue service dress uniform of a Navy Admiral, a chest full of medals and gold braid that spoke of a lifetime of command and respect. The bailiff moved to stop him, but the man's presence was so commanding that the officer simply froze. The Admiral's eyes scanned the room, bypassing the judge, the lawyers, and landing squarely on Michael. His stern expression softened, then crumpled into one of profound recognition and respect. The courtroom was utterly silent. The Admiral began to walk, his shoes clicking a firm, rhythmic tattoo on the polished floor. He didn't stop at the bar. He walked right up to Michael O'Malley. And then, in a move that shocked everyone present, The admiral, a man who commanded fleets, came to a halt, snapped to attention, and rendered a sharp, perfect salute to the struggling single father. Michael, operating on pure muscle memory, instinctively returned the salute, his body squaring up, his own bearing transforming in an instant from defeated to dignified. The admiral held the salute for a long, respectful moment before dropping his hand. His voice, deep and resonant, filled the dead silence of the courtroom, every syllable dripping with authority. "Petty Officer First Class Michael O'Malley," he said, the name ringing like a bell. "It's been a long time." Judge Whitmore finally found his voice, sputtering, "Admiral, what is the meaning of this interruption? This is highly irregular." The admiral turned slowly, his gaze settling on the judge. It was not a look of anger, but of cold, utter contempt. "The meaning, Your Honor, is that I am Admiral John Crow, Commander of the Naval Surface Forces, U.S. Pacific Fleet. And I am here to testify to the character of a hero whose integrity you have just sullied in a way I find personally disgraceful." He turned back to Michael, his eyes filled with an emotion few in the room had ever seen on such a man, sheer, unvarnished admiration. "I knew I'd find you here, son," the admiral continued, his voice softening only for Michael. "I heard about your situation through the grapevine. The Navy takes care of its own." He then addressed the entire room, his voice booming. "Those counterfeits, as you so glibly called them, Judge, were earned with a bravery and selflessness I have rarely witnessed. The Silver Star." He ran through a kill zone not once, but twice, to save the lives of 2 junior sailors. His own body took shrapnel protecting them. The citation, which I signed myself, reads that his conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his own life above and beyond the call of duty, saved 2 families from receiving a flag-draped coffin. The admiral took a step toward the bench, his eyes locked on Judge Whitmore, who had shrunk in his chair, his face ashen. "That Purple Heart," the admiral said, jabbing a finger toward Michael's chest, "is for a wound that nearly took his leg. And the Achievement Medal with Valor was for an act of stunning courage during a separate engagement where he single-handedly secured a compromised position, allowing his entire platoon to fall back safely." Counterfeits. The admiral let out a short, bitter laugh. "No, Your Honor. What you see on that man's chest is the real, unvarnished price of freedom. It is the cost of your very ability to sit on that bench and pass judgment. It is the evidence of a character so solid, so unwavering, that the idea of him being an unfit father is not just legally wrong, it is morally obscene." He turned back to Michael, his voice dropping again, becoming almost paternal. "Michael, the man I served with, the man who wept with me when we lost good people, the man who never left a man behind, that is the man who will raise that little girl. And I can think of no one better." The silence that followed was absolute. You could have heard a pin drop. Judge Whitmore looked like he'd been physically struck. He stared at Michael, truly seeing him for the first time, not as a struggling statistic, but as a warrior, a hero, a man of profound sacrifice. He cleared his throat, the sound unnaturally loud. He looked down at his notes, then back up at Michael, his entire demeanor transformed. The arrogance was gone, replaced by something that looked like shame and a dawning respect. "Mr. O'Malley, Petty Officer O'Malley," the judge began, his voice thick with emotion. "It seems this court has committed a grave error today. Not just a legal error, but a profound human one. I apologize. From the bottom of my heart, I apologize for my ignorance and my disrespect." He took a deep breath. "The court finds that the home of Michael O'Malley is not only suitable but is likely to be a place of immense strength, honor, and love for his daughter, Chloe. Full custody is granted to the father." Michael didn't hear the rest. The weight of the world lifted from his shoulders. He felt his father's hand on his back, and he turned to see the old man weeping openly. He looked at Admiral Crow, who simply gave him a firm, knowing nod. The story doesn't end in the courtroom. It ends with Michael walking out into the sunlight, the admiral by his side, a free man in the only way that mattered. It ends with him picking up Chloe from school, sweeping her into his arms, and whispering, "We're going home, baby girl. For good." This is a story about the unseen wounds our warriors carry, and the quiet battles they fight long after the war is over. It's a reminder that true strength isn't about having the loudest voice, but about having the strongest character. It's about how sometimes, when all seems lost, your brothers in arms still have your back. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that there is still honor and justice in the world, do us a favor and hit that like button, share this with someone who needs to see it, and subscribe to our channel. Because everyone deserves a story that gives them hope. Thanks for watching.